Hey everybody, it's Thomas, and as you can see from the title of this video, why I'm a rogue one when it comes to dieting. If you caught the reference. I told you I was a nerd. So, basically, over the weekend at Midpoint, I overheard a lot of my other friends and competitors in the competition talk about, how they love certain types of food, but they're not allowed to have it. And hearing that really made me stop and think, because I don't practice that type of thinking when I diet. And at best, you could probably consider my dieting style to be flexible in nature, because I don't believe in restricting food from my diet. And what do I mean by that is, say for instance you love eating donuts, right? I'm a fat guy. I used to love eating donuts. I still love eating donuts, let's be honest, right? I mean, who doesn't like eating donuts? I could easily plow through like an entire dozen worth of donuts without even batting an eye. Now, while that might have been stupid to do, that didn't stop me from doing it, because I didn't really understand all of the nutritional aspects of the food that I was eating. I wasn't, I was very ignorant about what I was eating. And, now going through, this amazing journey and learning all of the things that I've learned about food, and even the stuff that I learned before the competition about food, helps me to make smarter choices going forward. And what I mean is, if I'm presented with, a plate full of donuts, I look at that and go, oh God, donuts. But instead of, plowing through an entire, box, maybe I just have one or two. And I control the portions that I eat so that I can still enjoy and I can still have the things that I really love without eating to an excess and worry about, adding to the considerable size of my body, which, let's be honest, is pretty considerable. And it just people just talking about that just really got me thinking about, why would you restrict something from your diet? If it's something that you love to have and you can make room in your calories to eat that, then why go through the mental torture of trying to, fight an urge constantly when you can easily sate the urge? Now, granted, you may not be able to eat a whole plate full of donuts, but if you can still have one or two, you're going to be less likely to eat all the other ones. Or to go out and eat something, even more extravagant, that's not going to fit into like your daily meal plan. I'll actually give you a real world example. So for me, for example, I love soda. I love drinking soda. I also drink a ton of water, right? But I also love drinking soda. And so I'll usually default to the 0-calorie, soda options if I really want a soda, because then I can drink it without really feeling guilty. Even though 0-calorie soda still has sodium, it has a low amount of sodium, so I don't really feel guilty about it. But there are also days like today where, I need to have a real soda. And I don't feel guilty about drinking it. It's tracked for the day, it's logged. And I just really don't, it boggles my mind why people would put themselves through mental torture when you don't really have to. The only real problem that you'll run into is, having the willpower to say, okay, I can have a small amount of this and I can still feed that urge, but I don't need to have a huge amount of it. Because let's face it, binge eating is a thing. I'm guilty of it. I've done it in the past. Hundreds upon hundreds of millions of people have experienced the same problems. So when I've been dieting as long as I have, which, was the year even prior to the competition, I didn't restrict things out of my diet. Another example is, during like week 3 of the competition, my registered dietitian Rita told me that she wanted me to get more fats in my diet, because fats were easy for me to cut out, because almost all the food that I eat is very low fat. So I'd have an exorbitant number of fats left over. You're talking like 500 calories or so. And so I thought really long and hard about how could I best do that without going overboard. And it hit me. I'm like, ice cream, right? Now, that doesn't mean that, I sat down and ate a pint every night. No, 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 no. I had a cup. And if you love ice cream as much as I do, you know how hard it is to look at a cup and go, really? That's all I get? And it was very hard to control my willpower to just stay within that range. But doing that for like 3 or 4 nights straight kept me sane here. And it gave me the willpower that I needed to not, have the urge to go run down to a fast food place and get ice cream. And there's a couple within a couple minutes of my house. Like it's not a very difficult, thing to get ice cream. And so doing that not only kept me sane, but allowed me to get the fats in that I needed. And so I was good. And I got to enjoy ice cream that I really enjoyed. And so, it's important for people to know that, not every type of diet that's out there, and there's a million diets out there, and I'm sure you've probably heard all of them, but not every diet works for everybody. And just like, being flexible in my dieting works for me, it may not work for you. It may not work for some people. It might work for others. That's where, having a good registered dietitian that you can talk to comes in handy. And I know, it really pains me to see some of my friends, say, oh, well, I like eating, fried foods, but fried foods are totally bad and totally unhealthy. And let me just stop you right there. I don't believe, and this is my personal belief, I don't believe that any food should be considered unhealthy. All food is fuel. It doesn't matter what it is. The only thing that matters is how much of it you consume. There's difference between having 1 donut and 12 donuts. There's difference between having, a small chocolate bar and a big chocolate bar, right? So it all comes down to your willpower and your ability to control yourself. Me personally, I'm a very stubborn individual. When I want something, I go and I get it. There's no argument. If I want it and I want it bad enough, I go and I get it. Nobody's stopping me. The only person that can stop me, me. And how do I do that? Well, I treat myself. Treat yourself. It's you have to be able to enjoy things in order to keep doing them. And if you restrict all of the amazing food out of your diet, especially if there's a particular type of food that you love, whether it's, donuts, pizza, ice cream, what have you, doesn't really matter. If you totally cut that out of your diet, you're gonna be miserable. You're gonna be miserable. Nobody wants to be miserable while they're dieting. Nobody does, because then you're gonna be super likely to break it and binge eat, and that's not gonna help you. It's not gonna help anyone. So that's why I consider myself a rebel when it comes to dieting, because I still allow myself to have the things that I want in smaller portion sizes, but I still have those things. So I'm less likely to go binge eat a box of donuts. I can go get a protein donut, or, I can go and get like 1 or 2 donuts, and I can have the donut craving fulfilled and not be tempted to go and be like, oh, I'd like a dozen donuts, please. I'll put them right here, and they're going to go right here. No, I'm not going to do that. So I hope that this goes and explains a little bit of my thought process when it comes to dieting, because a lot of people don't really, we don't really talk about this aspect very much, but I think it's important. And, this past weekend, like I said, hearing some of my friends and fellow competitors, talk about what they were cutting out of their diet really just made me go, wow, like you're cruising for a potential binge eating, because you're just cutting it out completely and saying, no, I can't have that. That puts you more at risk for binge eating. And I would rather have a small amount of it and be able to look at, a larger plate of it and go, you know what, I don't really need that, than to be like, oh, and pull, the big fat man and just go, oh, shove it all in my mouth, I don't want to be that person anymore. And so I hope this helps to shed some light on, how I view things. And, if you guys agree, disagree, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, because we all have different opinions. So I'm interested in hearing yours. So please tell me. All right. Well, I'll see you all later, and have a good day. Bye-bye.